Hello, hello, everyone.
Hello, happy end of day for everybody here also on the East Coast like me.
Chris. Hi, Coach B, Misty. Where is everyone from? There's Chris. Oh, Stephanie. Let's see.
I'll actually be right back, just gonna grab some water. This will be a fun discussion.
Hello, Jason. Um, Muhammad. Hello, Mr. Menas. Good to see
Hello,
you.
everybody. Thank
How
you.
are
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Let's see. Vancouver, British Columbia, Australia, nice. Okay, if everyone can put in the chat, where are we watching? What part of the world are we from?
Oh, I see some fellow Canadians up here.
From Sydney, Australia. Hi, Dale. Pakistan, the other side of the world. A lot of people from Australia. Where's the people in the United States? Who's representing the USA? Hi, Donald.
Australia is 9 a.m., I think.
Yeah, 9 a.m. Well, Sophie, what time is it for you? She's on the other side of the coast.
It's 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
I think
Cool.
for all my friends across the pond, it might be closer
North
to 10.
Carolina, Deb. There we go. We got somebody here from the US. Idaho, Sharon. Cool. Can we just give a few?
Oh, Muhammad, 3 a.m. What a soldier.
Ed Gray from the UK. 10 p.m. here. Okay. Well, talk about we do whatever it takes, right? At whatever time zone it is. Hello, Gina.
Hello, Candice, and hello, everyone. I am so excited to hear Rommel today because I know that his intelligent mind has got something fantastic for us today. So thank you, Rommel. Thank you, Candice, for organising this. Thank you to the boards. Thank you, Sophie. And thank you to everyone for being here today. I am very excited.
So Gina, you're logging in from Australia. We were just asking people what part of the world are you zooming
So
in?
I live Yeah, so I live east coast of Australia, and if anyone knows where Byron Bay is, if you've ever heard of Byron Bay, I'm about an hour 40 north of that. Or if you've heard of the Gold Coast, Surfers Paradise, I'm about an hour west of that. So on a good day, I can either see mountains to the west or ocean to the east. So it's pretty perfect. I can see some familiar names here that I can remember from a few years ago when I was in the US. So it's good to see all these people here today. Candice, over to you.
Nice. I'm just excited to see everyone here. Let's just wait a few more minutes. Like I was telling Rommel, we were briefing about AI, artificial intelligence, and guess apparently we all been using it in some way because I was thinking to myself, I've never used it. But from what I'm gathering, I do use it. Siri, when you ask Alexa, Google. But I'm
Oh, they have snuck it in everywhere.
Yeah, right, right.
Everybody wants to put AI somehow into their product. It's a don't believe all the marketing hype.
My
Um,
son is a best man at a wedding in April, and he asked AI for some assistance. That was
oh,
that
he
was
wrote the speech. He
yeah,
got it to help
yeah.
make it a bit more funny. Yeah.
So can you imagine all these people that are in college and they're getting their thesis done? They can ask AI.
Oh, yeah, it's very good at that type of thing for transcription. New connections though, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much, but we'll get more into that stuff. If you guys have questions, specific questions, dump them into the chat for me. I'll be very flexible with this because one of the things when it comes to talking about AI is that it's very difficult to prepare anything in advance about AI because something new is going to pop up earlier in the week that's going to throw the presentation completely off. I was just joking with Candace and Sophie about this before everyone came in, but I remember making a mental note to myself that a lot of these AIs will not be able to that nobody yet has an AI to uh, coach an entire workforce. And then something popped into my feed that someone just released that type of product on the 11th, my time. So, things change rapidly, rapidly. A bit too soon to be able to test the thing out. So I'll give what I believe it's able to do. And of course, the limitations that's going to come across. It's always fun. It's always fun. Seeing some fun questions starting to pop up. Make sure you guys use all chat, or if you don't want everybody to see it, I can't imagine why. Send it directly over as a DM.
Thank you, Rommel. All right, we'll get started really soon. Few people still entering the room. Let's see.
All right.
Just looking at everybody. Hi, Greg, Hannah. Welcome. Very nice. I'm also curious with many members here. Are you interested in more webinars on meeting AI? Yeah, that's a great question. Coach B raised her hand.
Yes, I just want to share something. We're attending today. We are 6 ladies from Lebanon because one of us who's Lama attending with us was planning to attend a class about AI. And the advertisement for the class was AI cannot take your job, but someone who knows AI can. So it was like, we have to know AI.
It is going to be a very fanciful assistant that a lot of people will have. It'll be one of those things. You don't see anybody wander around nowadays without a cell phone, for the most part, right? Never before did you think that you would need a personal number when you had a landline connected to your home. Some nations have completely skipped landlines and went straight to mobile devices, right? We're leapfrogging leaps and bounds. And you'll find that the people who have the greatest innovations are actually the ones who leapfrog because they're not held into place by the old thinking that's in there. Yeah, absolutely. There's always so much to do. Hey, loving these questions, guys. Keep filling it in. Keep filling it in. Yes,
Rommel,
Candace?
I find what you were just saying quite interesting about AI, and I think everyone's going to laugh. When I first started my career a long, long time ago, before I got into coaching, I was in education, and at night time to prepare handouts for my students the next day, I used to have at home a photograph machine. Now don't laugh. It was on a roller and it used to have ink, and you would use methylated spirits to keep the roller clean, and you would just roll paper, and that's how you created your handouts. That was a long time ago, mind you. But this is hilarious now that we're talking about AI.
I'm from this era, overhead projectors and transparencies, where you would have to print it reversed so that when you put it onto the light, it would actually shine up. For anybody here who doesn't know that, this is what predated what do we call these now? Slideshow projectors or projection machines. That's what we would need to have. Oh my gosh. But we are at the age where we can actually do real-time things with AI generated video games. You can make automatically generated immersive items. It's very powerful stuff. But you know what? We're 10 minutes in. Let me get this thing started. Guys, I will have the chat open on my side, so please feel free to chime in with the questions and everything there. I'll keep this chat adaptive. But I'll get through some of the basics first. So let's begin. Welcome to a talk about AI in the world of coaching. I'm happy that you're all here. AI it's a buzzword. It's definitely a buzzword right now, and everybody is scrambling to toss AI into every single thing that they do. They are. It's predictable when you think about it when it comes to marketing. Everybody wants to put it in there. Just a few years ago, we were trying to put blockchain into everything, and now it's AI. That said, this is actually something that's here to stay because it has an incredibly high utilization that everybody is able to easily adopt very, very quickly, right? So when we talk about AI, it's funny because in some of my profiles, when people meet me, they see NLP, and then they start talking to me about AI. And thankfully, I know enough about AI since I used to help build some of it pre-pandemic days. That's where my knowledge of it goes to. And some of them look at NLP and think it's the NLP that the boards here, created by Krasner way back in the 1980s, if I recall, helped set up around neurolinguistic programming. So let's get that definition straight. Neurolinguistic programming. For most of you here, I know some of you are joining who are not trained. Was developed by Richard Bandler and John Grinder back in the 1970s. And the highest definition I'll give of that is it's how we use language of the mind to consistently achieve our specific and desired outcomes. Now we can get deeper into that, but that's as high as we'll go there. Think behavioral change, habit installation, the fun things, right? And then we have natural language processing, the AI NLP. So that's a field of, the formal definition of this would be, it is a field of applied science, specifically computer science, and more specifically, computational linguistics and artificial intelligence programming. That's a mouthful. But what it is it's a means of input to take in information from some form of data set or medium in a text-based way, right? Not necessarily text-based because we also have diffusion models, but we'll dive into that more. When it comes over to AI, the hottest thing here isn't necessarily the diffusion models. That's been making waves. We're getting really good at deep fakes, at doing LoRa's. You can put your face on anything now. But I'll focus more so on large language models, LLMs. LLMs are actually based off of natural language processing. And then on top of that, we use quite a bit of machine learning principles in there, especially transformers. But I'll save some of the technical pieces there and just let you know that it's very focused on language. And language is key for every single thing that we do as humans, right? That is just one of those things. We're very, very, very dependent on language. It both sets us free to be able to express anything and everything, and it also limits us in language, right? Like, what is the it in "It is raining"? And that's a rule of language, right? That's a rule of grammar, not a rule of the universe. But that said, it's fun as we get to use these things. So let's go on for a few additional things. Let's talk about what coaching is. What do we mean by coaching? Everybody probably never heard of coaching before. Before it was always just therapy, right? The big TR made coaching the buzzword back then because he took that in from sports. And the idea of coaching now is that it's a facilitative, goal-oriented, future-focused process. And it's typically applied towards personal development or professional coaching, or sorry, professional growth, right? So we have a collaborative process. We help a person or individual or individuals, one-to-one or one-to-many. And we go through a series of these structured conversations, active listening, skillful questioning. And the intention here is to help the coachee define their goals, explore options, create actionable plans, and do it, right? You empower them to unlock their potential, overcome challenges, and achieve meaningful outcomes. When we talk about coaching, this is what we're talking about. Now, what's AI? Oh gosh, not a lot of people can say what it is. Let's define it this way because it encompasses a wide, broad spectrum of things. Let's define it as a computer system designed to perform tasks that would typically require human intelligence, human reasoning, human intelligence, right? So this would be taking a data set and extracting insights from it. This could be doing decision making. So if this, then that. natural language processing. So you take an input and you can translate it in your head for what it actually means. For problem solving. And while not actually very recent, we've had this for a while, it has become recently popular, which is reasoning. This is everything with O1, O3 from OpenAI, and DeepSeek with the R1 model. That's become very, very popular as of late. So what else can we say about AI? When we say AI, we're talking about a system that has a learning capability, typically using machine learning, right? So we use deep learning, RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. So this is when you can feed it a bunch of documents and it'll read it and it'll rank it and pull out what's necessary. LoRa's low rank adaptation. So this is how you bias a model to do something. If anybody of you has seen those apps or any ad where you can train it on 5 photos of your face and then you can make versions of yourself everywhere, that's what we do. We take the visual, in this case, that's the diffusion model. We take the visual data, we hyper bias the data set and say, do your thing, but we're also going to hyper bias this. So when it says, I need to make a human face, it's referencing your photos to make you or something very, very similar to you, right? And where do we get to use these things? Well, we get to use it for automation for the most part. This is where it has been key and why it's been gaining so much traction. Automation in repetitive or complex tasks. So think it also has some human-like functions. So we'll mimic the cognitive tasks like perception, communication, planning, right? You can use reasoning to say this happens and that happens and that happens. If you're making an omelet, I need to crack the egg, put the egg in the skillet and do that. But the skillet has to be on and there might need to be a butter or something else in there, right? And you can reason that out and therefore you can plan. Now, where is it actually used? Where is it actually used where it's most meaningful? Oh, we got lots of niches for this thing, but really where it's most meaningful right now is with support systems, decision support systems, chatbots, predictive analytics. That's the type of thing. For the most part, it's and I actually ran into this word only recently. It's an ersatz. Does anybody know this one? Ersatz? I'll type it in the chat. And there we go. Ersatz. Don't Google it because I'll tell you in a moment. But does anybody guess what that is? Nay? So an ersatz is, for most things, an artificial or, hence AI, artificial intelligence, or an inferior substitute or imitation. It's a replacement or substitute. It's a person or thing that takes or that can take a place of another. Right? So when I look at AI, currently, for the most part, it's an ersatz. It is an imitation of something that we can do, and until we can train it to be better than us in very specific functions, it'll remain inferior. Now, is it better than us in some things? Yes, and we'll get into those, right? But for the most part, it's the things that I don't think that you would want to be doing. For example, would you like to dig through 50 pages of transcription to find something? Or would you much rather ask it to go through the transcript for you and reason out what it could have been, especially if you don't have a keyword to search for? Very useful. Very useful. Now, can you get a human to do that? Yes, but it may take several hours. Now, LLMs, large language models, those are rooted in NLP. I should be specific, natural language processing. And we extend that using machine learning methodologies. So you take natural language processing, you take neural networks, specifically transformer architectures. That's a bit to explain. But you take all of those and a few other items, and that is actually how you have the LLMs as they are today. That's how they get put together, right? We've taken a ton of data, we've put it in a lot of transformer architecture. This actually made training AIs very easy when that paper was published about transformer architectures. And now we have the LLMs that you see today, right? And then let's talk about AI coaching. Let's talk about AI coaching. A lot of marketing around AI coaching is going to get mixed up. For the most part, people think that any type of assistance provided to a user is AI coaching. That's how they'll sell you on it. But that's not what we mean when we're talking AI coaching here. We're talking about using AI in an actual coaching context. When you're supporting a person to get through some kind of breakthrough, some kind of new idea, or to remove any kind of gosh, any limiting decisions. Gosh, those things are that. And that's what we mean by AI coaching. How can we use that in this area? So there's some levels of this. You can coach somebody through administrative support, right? Basic administrative support. New client comes in, I need to fill out their name, address, etc., find out where they live, give them a few tags based off of an interaction with them, and make sure that I either put them on my mailing list, I'm talking to them about something specific, or that I have their information somehow stored. Right? That's what that is. There's level 2, data-driven insights and analytics. I have fed you all of this information, and now I would need you to help me extract insights from it. The example I gave before, I'm looking for various themes and maybe about 50 conversations I've had with someone to extract and pull out insights. Can a human do this? Yes. Can an AI assist the coach in doing this? Probably a lot better, especially when the data sets become bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, we then have a level like AI-led coaching. This works for low complexity scenarios. What do I mean by that? I mean the really, really simple things. If I need to help somebody develop a skill in something that's very simple, or if something is something is very task specific, right? Now, come up here with me. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by low complexity scenarios or task specific scenarios, task specific guidance? I mean, it's properly bounded. It's very clear. I need to teach somebody how to use this program. Here's a step-by-step guide. Here's how you're able to do it. Ask me a question on how it is that you want to accomplish X task, and I will guide you through it. It works great in chatbot form, works great with visuals. You can prompt it and integrate it in all kinds of things. But really, it provides guidance and support on a very strictly defined problem area. Right? What else can it be doing? Oh yeah, I'm seeing some chats in here. Yes, use it in place of Google for searches, right? Perplexity is a great idea for that. We are in the era of wrapper solutions. And what does that mean? Every single service that you see out there, SaaS service, software as a service, that leverages AI is effectively a wrapper solution. They will use one of the big guys, right? I think only Grok doesn't. They use more free models. But you're basically offshoring the inference part, the AI part, the thing that would otherwise cost you several thousands of dollars to put a nice big graphic card into your PC on. You outsource that to the large models, to large servers, and it will do the tasks. Perplexity is a great wrapper for this. I'll just go on a tangent on Perplexity and we'll get back over to AI coaching. So Perplexity is a wrapper model where it will do a specific series of tasks. It will do searches for you. It will scrape the search results. It will summarize said search results, and then it will extract additional data to present to you in the query that you've asked it. So if I ask it to say, tell me when ersatz were first used, as an example in the chat here about Perplexity, it can. They'll go find it, Google a bunch of different sources, collate that information, summarize, and bring that in. It is very, very good at that. So that's what we can do with data-driven insights and analytics and support for coaching, or for the coaches. Now we also have AI augmented coaching, right? So how else can it support a coach? When people think AI coaching, they automatically think the what people might think is the end game, which is, will it replace me? It might replace some things. I'll tell you more specifically more, and if I haven't answered fully that question for you, please put it into the chat. But it'll replace some things, right? But what we mean by AI augmented coaching, I mean being able to go through those transcripts that I've had with a client. I mean being able to understand the keywords. I mean being able to even take in what I've said in the coaching session, critique how I performed, and get insights and feedback on that so that I can be better for my clients. Right? Suggesting actions and enabling other kinds of continuous support. You can use that as an assistant. It's not going to be better than you. It's only going to have the information it's provided. But you can use that as support, right? And then, of course, there's a level after that, which is scalable coaching. I actually thought that this wasn't something that we'd be able to touch into yet, but actually someone's released a product for this already just recently on the 11th about it. This is the level where people want to, I guess the wording around it is they want to democratize access to coaching by making it incredibly cost effective and available to the largest amount of groups. This is where some fear comes in for coaches, right? They go, oh, if it's everywhere and it's super cheap, why would they need me? here's the thing. We're talking about what the quality of that coaching is. So when you want to mass produce something, the quality of it goes down. So while most coaches were playing in middle, high ends, right? We don't have enough coaches to work on the lower rungs. We don't. The simple questions, the small pieces, getting everybody through level 1 when you're providing level 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coaching over here. This is not serviceable, right? Because we're focused up here. We're focused up here. Down here, everybody's curious about it. They want to get some information about it, but there isn't really much time about it. This kind of gets noisy, right? People offering different courses, fly-by-night operations, lots of things over there. But really what happens is as these more scalable solutions come, they begin to service everything from like level 1, 2, 3. Whereas most coaches are still at level 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, working on those problems, right? And it's fantastic, actually. If you look at it this way, once people get a taste of what's at level 1, 2, 3, and they need more, and they know the system is limited in what it can actually provide you, because it's not trained that way, it doesn't have the type of thinking to be able to respond to you a specific way, they'll go find a human. Very, very powerful stuff. But yeah, so those are just some definitions that we'll keep this conversation bounded by. Before I jump into some of the main topic points for what we're going to discuss, does anybody have questions? Feel free to toss them into the chat. I want to make sure that we're all starting from a common point here. So Gina's saying, is there value in coaches and trainers preparing some of the more simple information about NLP using AI so that their professional clients can engage as the first layer of engagement? If yes, how? Yes and no. Yes and no. You would need to train it properly on what AI is, right? If I were to toss in, define me what timeline therapy is, it can't answer me, not correctly. Can I ask it, tell me what NLP is? It'll answer it, but not really. Why? Because it's pulling data in from everywhere, and it's not really consistent, right? Everybody has their own take. We know what happens. You get trained, you rebrand it a certain way. You might make mention to it in one way or another, or something gets mentioned incorrectly and it becomes popularized. The AI can't really fact check it. It's just going to make a reference online and do that, and it's how it's trained. But is it worthwhile to automate certain things? Yes. Yes. One of the things when I do trainings in neurolinguistic programming is I have a little video model on the presuppositions of NLP. And it's 3 items for them to look at. And I can track whether or not they've accomplished it and whether or not they haven't. But I didn't really need AI for that. I really didn't. Now, can I have AI be ready there so they can ask questions around it so that we don't spend 15 minutes to 20 minutes in the training going over and asking those questions, the top level questions, so they can get those answered? Absolutely, that would be great, because then they have the more serious questions that the AI can't answer. It's not able to, and everybody gets that insight in the training rather than burning 20, 30 minutes answering the low-hanging fruit questions up here. So for now, it's not ability to use sensory acuity. Oh, Jason, for your question. So Jason says, for now, there is not an ability to use sensory acuity to make sure there are actual shifts at the unconscious level for your clients. That is true. Nothing commercially available. Incorrect. There's something commercially available, but nothing consumer grade available yet. There is a lot of work that has been done, and this is actually used commercially, like, for example, in training call centers to do tonality and sentiment analysis real time. So that's possible. That's possible. I'm waiting for the day something like that can happen on the side and it can actually alert me that I'm speaking a certain way or that I'm running off without being aware. That would help me greatly with my own self-awareness, and I can't wait for us to get there. However, the tech is not yet readily available, and it's also very buggy. It's also very buggy, right? For those of you that are trained in neurolinguistic programming, I need to be careful when I use the acronym here. Trained in NLP, neurolinguistic programming, we know that we need to evaluate everything in terms of ecology and context, right? Unfortunately, the context window for most of these AIs is very, 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 very small. Or the data is not properly presented to them that they can actually make that change. So for the most part, it will not have that ability for sensory acuity, not for a long time. We don't have the compute power yet, although that's going up. Aside from that, people would then have to make some more convenient solutions. Um, let's see here. Judith says, I find I get ideas in areas that I want to go deeper and that AI just cannot provide me. I go to the source for more information. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the reasons a lot of people go over and find somebody that's certified by the boards to get trained in something like neurolinguistic programming. You go to a course, you'll kind of get some surface level items, but we want the secret sauce. We want what's at the root. And then they discovered neurolinguistic programming, right? It's very powerful. It's very powerful in there. So training, we have to think and do differently. Yes, Gina, for that. And the paper's up. Yes. So Judith also says, my hypnosis is geared to the client's needs. Words are chosen based on this client and this issue. AI is not there yet. Yes and no. You need to prompt it correctly. You need to feed it context, appropriate context. Now, you can provide it keywords and it can do things like that to help personalize a script for you. But when it comes into the world of hypnotherapy, please prompt me again about that because there's a lot we can talk about. When it comes into the world of hypnotherapy and using hypnotic language, unless you bias the AI intentionally to use language in that way, it's going to try to give you grammatically correct scripts, which does not work for the intended purpose. Right. So it sounds like we got some good thoughts and questions going up here. I'm going to dive right into some of the main topics that were posted about. So, how is AI used in coaching today? Let's talk about current state. Right. For those of you who don't know, I've been in marketing and advertising since the start of my career at a university, and and it wasn't just marketing and advertising. There was also a lot of tech involved. This is pre-Shopify days. So what we would do to solve a problem for clients, high-level problem, creative problem, is define the current state, get to the niche little parts of what's incorrect, what can be improved, and then plan out the future state. So let's talk about current state. How is AI used in coaching today? How is it being used? Let's talk about the type of coaching. So we've defined it before, but AI is used in structured or task-based coaching. What do I mean by that? I mean anything closed box, anything that has a very clear criteria, anything that can be a Boolean, yes or no. When we talk about coaching, when I talk about level 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coaching, these are not formal levels or anything, but think higher end coaching. We're talking about executive level coaching, more complex problems. The problems that involve emotionally charged situations or high stakes decision making. At best, at this point, it can act as an assistant to help compile data to make a decision, but it cannot replace a coach. It will not step in for you when you're in the middle of a debate, in the middle of a negotiation, and train you to think and respond a certain way. It can't. It cannot. Now, it can do quite a lot, and it excels very good at task-based learnings. What does that mean? It means if I'm a barista somewhere, it can assist me in learning how to make all kinds of drinks. I do recall taking a bartender class when I was in university, and that was a lot of rote memorization. But if it can help me study, learn it, and guide me through the actions, great. Task-based learning, right? Did I make the drink correctly? Yes or no? Very clear criteria. Now, is somebody a better negotiator? Yes or no? Tougher criteria to put in. And AI can't really do that unless the criteria is closed boxed. Now, where else does it work very, very well in the coaching businesses? Administrative efficiency. Oh gosh, scheduling, session notes, reminders. But this isn't new. This is not new. These are dumb automations which have been made a lot more conveniently accessible to people now with AI, because I can say, I would like to be able to send reminders to people, help me put this together. And it can help and instruct you to do that. Some models will, if it has proper API access to certain things, can actually put that together for you. But what do we mean by this? Has anybody heard of Zapier? Yes? Zapier automation. If this, then that. Yeah. Congratulations. You have been working with the backbone of what AI does in automations. All it's doing now is understanding what it is you're asking and then providing you instructions based on everybody's feedback on how to do exactly that same use case that you've asked it about for that very small context window. How do I do email follow-ups in Zapier? How do I get this to talk to that in a nice way? I tried it, it didn't work, help me troubleshoot. This is where it's working with administrative efficiency. Now, no, this is not anything new, but AI has made it very, very more convenient and accessible to a lot of people. So it's getting used a lot and a lot more. I spoke about learning how to mix a drink. So skill development, the simulations. We've gotten to the point that we've got good voice synthesis now. So voice is not actually any different than text-based. All we're doing is we're transcribing, right? You say something, I transcribe it into words. And then after that, I do a text-to-speech engine, so I speak it back to you. Right? That's just a middle layer in here. There's nothing special there. It's still text-based, so we're still working with an LLM. If you want to practice giving a pitch, if you want to practice transcribing your words, if you want to practice being able to speak a certain way, it is absolutely fantastic in being able to allow you to speak those items and summarize any key points that you want to make for presentations. As I'm here giving this to you now, I know I spoke to an AI a couple times. And I said, here's what I'm going to talk about. What else could I talk about here that I'm missing based off the information knowledge that I've given you? And it gave me a few points, right? Very good simulation for it. Very good simulation for it. But you do need to train it properly and let it know what the criteria is. And you'll hear me repeat that a lot because it's important, right? What's important? Who says? Exactly. And why is that important? Right? So where else does it also work? Scalability. So people are attempting to do this. This is the one-to-many model. It's on demand. It's 24/7. But we're talking about the low-level items. We're talking about level 1 and level 2. So can I ask a question of somebody in the middle of the night when I'm busy doing something and all the humans are asleep and I don't have time to go through a 50-page manual? Yes, absolutely fantastic. This is what we mean by scalability, especially at the lower ends. And of course, personalization. With RAG, you guys may not know it as RAG, but that's what it is. What happens is all the current features that you see in OpenAI, in Anthropic, and all the other players, where you're able to upload documents and they'll read through your documents. That's all RAG. You're able to personalize it there by biasing its data set, right? Giving it something to refer to do so. Even Perplexity uses the same thing. It'll scrape websites, it'll get the input, and then based on that, it'll give you an answer based on the information it's just acquired, prioritizing that over the general knowledge it has. But that's how we're currently using it in coaching today, right? A lot of it's actually behind the scenes, not actually coaching people aside from the low-level common FAQ type questions. Is everybody here still with me? Seeing head nods? Okay, good. Any questions about that before I jump into talking about the strengths and limitations of AI specifically in personal development? Carla's asking, what is the name of this program? Apologies, which program?
Sorry, may I just have a chat? I think you mentioned about Xavier or something.
Oh,
That's
Zapier. Zapier,
Zapier.
Zapier. It's just a more common automation framework, at least in my part of the world.
All right.
Right. So think any kind of automation tool. There's N8N. There's all kinds out there right now. But if you put into Google or Perplexity, if you're using AI tools, automation tools or automations framework, you will see a lot of these out there. A lot of them try to be sexy with AI now, but all they've done is they've put a wrapper solution in the middle to take your question, right? And then using what it knows, all of its SOPs, standard operating procedures, all of its guides, all of its how-tos, all of the forums out there of people asking the same type of question that you might have, and says, okay, if they're trying to do this with this outcome, here are the steps that people always take to do that. And this is what one of those workflows look like. Let's make a dummy one for them and give it over to them. That is how those get turbocharged with AI. So Gina's asking, when they get into it, can you give specific examples of how we can use AI, something we can do now? Okay. If I don't get into that in a moment from now, please ask it again. I will give lots of examples. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one because I think you'll get partial answers to that as we get going. So the strengths and limitations of AI in personal development. More about Perplexity. We'll talk about Perplexity more in a bit. But first, let's talk about the strengths of this. 24/7 availability. It's always accessible. Unless you're on some kind of model where you need credits, in which case, as long as your bank account is open, you will have access to it 24/7, right? Some people say it's consistent and it's neutral. Maybe. Depends. Depends on what model you're using and how you're using it. It's debatable. We're making context windows, so what it can remember, uh, and we're making them bigger and bigger and bigger, right? The 128,000 is the current working context windows. Anthropic says they got 200,000. It's not actually 200,000 because there's a lot that gets pre-fed into it. It's close to like 160 something. I'd have to go double check and redo the math on it, but it's getting larger. We have different methods that we've been using, like RAG, R-A-G, to feed it documents so that it doesn't have to remember everything. It can pull selective pieces that are needed. We put those into workflows, or pipelines, so that depending on the terminology you want to use. And we're getting better at that. We're getting better at that. But neutrality, oh boy, it's gonna depend. It's gonna depend on how you've trained it and what the data is on if something is truly neutral. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because who gets to say who gets to say what's neutral? Well, it's the data it's trained on, isn't it? So make sure that what it's trained on is actually serving you. That is something, right? You need to understand who controls the baseline bias. That's key. It's not that it's neutral, it's that there's a baseline bias, and you need to be very much aware of it. Where else is it strengthened in? Data analysis. Excels at analyzing large data sets. If you ever thought big data was the future, you probably heard that term in the past. That was true until we found out how badly we structured data. Nothing was consistent. AI helps with that. It's good at taking fuzzy logic, putting things together in something that's usable, and then actually doing analysis on that. So it helps fill in those gaps, which otherwise would take humans and analysts hours to do, for potentially what not might be a lot of not a lot of value at the end of the day, right? It's great at identifying patterns, providing insights, creating summaries, and it's very cost efficient for once you put automations in. So I gotta be clear when I say this. When I say cost efficient, it's not that it won't cost you to use it for automation, but the opportunity cost that you save is massive, right? An hour of you coaching a client, or an hour of you in the sales room, or an hour of you doing the thing that allows you to produce value in the world is far more valuable than you checking off boxes, quite honestly, right? Or doing your time card, or anything else like that, right? To the point of data analysis, since Jim had talked about perplexity, that's exactly what it's doing, right? It's doing a RAG model where it's taking a lot of search results, scraping it in, and then it's doing data analysis on it. It's going to extract all these pieces based on the user's query, what's important, use some reasoning models now that Perplexity is integrated R1 and O3 models from DeepSeek and from OpenAI respectively, and we'll reason out an answer for you. So massive summarization. This is where its strength is at. Now, what are the limitations of this in personal development? While you can use AI and you can train it to use nice words and all of these things, it lacks emotional intelligence. It does. It does. You can train it to speak a certain way, to be roundabout, to do all of those things, and that's not the intelligence it has. It's just following how other people have gone roundabout and talking about a certain subject in order to avoid being direct. It lacks the emotional intelligence. And we know as humans, sometimes you do need to be direct with someone. And we pull up on all of the body cues, the sensory acuity, the body language, all that is said and what is not said. And we take in all of that information. Now, I said before, it can read tonality. We have quite a number of models that can do that. We also have quite a number of models that can produce text to speech with tonality, but it's not there yet. The resources required for that is not there yet. But is it possible? Yes. Will it happen anytime soon holistically? No. No. It will struggle with contextual understanding. Like I said, whatever the baseline bias is, it'll have there. But it will struggle with ambiguity or emotionally charged situations that require nuanced judgment. So if it has a specific bias and we want to be more nuanced because we have a very specific use case, apologies, it won't be able to respond appropriately, not with the appropriate nuance, right? Well, you can call it nuance, you can call it innuendo, you can call it being an indirect speaker, whatever it is you'd like. It's not very good at it. You can train it to be close in closed box scenarios, but it's not there. And of course, lastly, there's always the ethical concerns, data privacy, right? The algorithmic bias, and you'll hear me talk about that a lot. Uh, and whether or not it might lead to over-reliance or a dependency on technology rather than development. The number of people nowadays that I see that are actually over-reliant on it, yeah, it has been increasing. And there's it depends on how you would like to use it, right? Either to replace or to augment. And there's a lot of value when it comes over to augmenting. I will say that for sure, right? I'm seeing some notes in here. I'd love to learn to use AI for marketing content. Oh, more about that in a bit. And it's very powerful when you configure prompt it. Yes, very, very powerful for this. Look, one of the key things coming into this talk was, will AI replace coaches or enhance their work? Look, administrative stuff, hands down, it will support. Lower level items, yeah, it can replace lower level items. But for the most part, I don't think that you would want to be answering level 1 and 2 questions everywhere. I would much rather feed that off into something that's automated, frees up other humans' time so they can go pursue what's important to them. And then for everything above that, they get directed over to me, the human, right? And of course, I have all the data from the lower tier, lower chunk items that I can use to further train it and make use of that data for all kinds of things. Look, AI as it is right now, it can dramatically, how do I want to phrase this? It can dramatically enhance the quality of work that you're doing. Right now, what you really want to look at are hybrid models. So this is where the user, the coach, can use AI to remove the administrative burdens and do analysis, speed up the analysis, so they can focus more on the client and less on administrative efforts. Right? Let's talk about another type of hybrid model. AI is not only just usable by the coach, it can also be usable by the coachee. So in terms of progress tracking, where both the coach and coachee can use AI, right? That progress tracking is a use case for this. I'm going to give you a set number of tasks. It's going to track you in on it. It's going to also provide you support in order to do said tasks when I'm not around, in the 24/7 availability, right? It can do systematic follow-ups with the coachee. Now, OpenAI has released tasks. You would have to code something, your own custom pipeline before, but they're starting to make these types of things more convenient to the general public. So it can do systematic follow-ups now with tasks, and it can do data gathering and summaries for the coach in advance so that the coach can quickly get the data and not spend an hour pooling over what would have been otherwise qualitative work. They can instead get summaries, get the data, and then focus on how it is that they're going to support the coachee. So in those cases, it can augment rather than replace. What will be replaced, though, are the lower levels, the simple things that you can do by automation, right? But of course, the medium to higher level efforts, the best it'll be able to do there is assist, especially at this point. The human qualities that are not going to be, there are human qualities that are immutable right now that AI can't really touch, which is creativity, emotional intelligence, and adaptability. I'll have to caveat the last one because there are some live feedback models where it's attempting to do that. However, the models themselves are not oh so large that it can actually be adaptable and useful. It'll be adaptable and unfortunately over adapt is my experience with that so far. That said, let me see here for the questions. The question about recording, I guess that'll go over to Candace and Sophie. And then for marketing. Okay. So before I move on for other items, any questions here? I want to make sure that before I start talking about AI usage and things like marketing, that I cover any questions so far. Are you guys finding this useful? Yes. Okay, good. Good. Is there anything in there that's caught your eye or caught your ear where you want to learn more specifically? Feel free to keep putting them into the chat, right? The more you guys prompt me, the more I'll be able to focus the conversation. No, I'm not an AI. Okay. So, oh, yep. Yep. You're saying it's adaptability. We have to be agile for thinking and actions. Absolutely. High stress, fast-paced scenarios. You can't say, hold on, let me prompt and teach it all these things and then ask it this question. That's not going to work. Not going to work in a high stakes meeting, not going to work in a high stakes boardroom, not going to work in the moment when action is required right there by the human, right? There's no way for it to download into your brain. And even if it could, I don't know if you'd want it to. Oh, Thalia is asking, how can you use AI to augment helping the client? Ah, okay. So Thalia, to answer your question around this, how can we use to augment helping the client? When we talk about helping the client, let's box that in because we can go high with that. When I see helping the client, I hear it as what I hear it as, how do I support them in accomplishing either the tasking that's been provided, or how can they apply what it is I've just taught them? So progress tracking, right? Normally, if you go up high enough, it'll fall into one of those categories, right? How do I support them in making sure that they can do the thing if they need specific support, or ensure that they're properly doing it and I'm properly tracking it? So it's very much possible to do this and allow it to heck, you can make forms for this thing. You can make all kinds of forms, feed it over to an AI, and the AI will track it for you, compile the information, and also support you. Where it's going to shine greatly, Thalia, is if you were to use it to capture qualitative content, so long form content. These are the things that are not as easily quantifiable. So if I were to tell my clients, okay, part of your tasking is to write a journal prompt about what happened today, something you might have seen that's visually stunning, something that felt great, or what prompted you to fall back to whatever X behavior. We can get all of that. Normally, as a coach, you would get that information. I don't know. We're in a very convenient age. We can make web forms. They can write it out and send photos of it for you. But you need to take a step to extract that information, put it in some kind of form that's useful for you, or keep it in your head and juggle it there, right? While you compile all of this information to come up with an output. How this helps the client is it's going to, one, allow them to put the information in whatever format's most useful for them. And then two, compile it for the coach such that they can actually make use of it and then focus on the client. It removes that administrative, well, what I call administrative burden, right? Of course, double checking is what's needed, but it removes that administrative burden so that you can actually get closer to what's going on and supporting the client, right? Look, if you guys haven't already, there are tons of subscription services over there. Heck, if you're a bit tech-minded or you have the wherewithal and time to try to build it on your own, OpenAI released their Whisper models, their transcription models. It's free. You can grab that thing online. And you can transcribe entire sessions that you have with your coachee, with your group, with the last presentation that you gave. And then you can feed that in as a data point to the AI and start asking it questions as you begin to either simulate items or extract keywords, right? Extract, for those of you that are neurolinguistic programming NLP trained, extract presuppositions. If you're more advanced, maybe even help you validate specific metaprograms that you captured. Now, do I suggest that as a replacement from taking notes as you're currently coaching? No, 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 because this is your input. This is your input, right? However, it will allow you to capture anything that was missed so that you don't necessarily have to wait or pause something midway when the client is just going on. Just make a note on the timing of when that happened and listen over and grab the transcription. Very powerful immediate application that you can use as a coach. Right. Okay. Okay. Cool. So what else can we do here? Look, I remember going over and speaking with somebody, actually speaking with a lot of people, they want to create an AI coach. They always want an AI coach. They always want an AI coach. What do they mean? They usually mean assistant. Right? They usually mean assistant. But some people they try to say, I want AI to just replace the human. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. With the limitations that we have around it right now, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, can an AI coach actually work for some people? Yes. You might not like to hear that answer, but yes, it'll actually work for you. fellow coaches. Why? Look, how can I put this? If you have an AI coach, the current models announce that it's prompt-based and you feed it all your data. It's useful for people who are already introspective, have data that they can feed into it, and actually willingly do the work and have no problems tracking the data. They already have that habit. Okay. So this is the type of person who will buy a self-help book and it does not turn into shelf help. Like they actually read it, they apply it in their life, they go through the actions and they track it. Right? Like they actually follow instructions. Every single coach on this call, anybody else who's trained or anybody else who is highly executive functioning, we can all follow instructions, right? Because only the smartest people can follow instructions. Choose to follow instructions. For somebody who's introspective naturally like that, you can kind of treat AI as a way to prompt yourself, because that's really what that is, right? It's the same as a self-help book. The only difference is that you're not actively asking it questions, you're getting the text from it. It's the same thing. So can people self-coach themselves with AI? Yes, in the same way that you read a self-help book. It's just been made slightly more convenient. So there are people where that can replace that, right? But for the most part, that's level 1, 2, 3. It might be maybe 3, 4. Right? Don't get me wrong, that's around 3, 4. So can it replace the lower items? The lower items that they could have done on their own? Will it replace the accountability a coach gives? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Some people will do it. Some of them may follow instructions partially. Some stuff happens. Life happens. Some stuff comes up. And having another human in there hold you accountable with the appropriate emotional support is there. If any of you guys have seen the I don't know why it's trending, but there's the AI fitness coaches by Garmin and Apple Watch, if anybody has seen this on social media, where Garmin is not very emotionally intelligent. It just goes, oh, your run wasn't so great, run harder. Right? That might work for some people, for people who have very direct communication styles and are not emotionally charged to their outcome or any of those fun things. It can help them. Sure, but that's a very small subset of people, right? We definitely need the human factor in there still for this type of thing. Like, what else can we be using it for, right? Before I move on to that, look, if you already have the discipline for it and the clarity to follow instructions, then all you're missing is the knowledge, the very specific context specific piece. That's the same as buying a self-help book. Go buy the manual, go buy a textbook, read it, apply it. But for the most part, having the support of an actual human will dramatically increase that. And we're not even talking about the higher level functions, the things that you can't teach by book, right? You know, it may make some sense. Let me just put this in here for you. Anything that can be put down into the written word, an AI can learn. Why? Because it's text-based. It's text-based. This is why it's equivalent to a self-help book. It's a very large series of self-help books, but it will not replace the actual coach, because there are things, even if I were to put them down into language, you cannot really understand because we're limited by language. Right? There are concepts out there that it will not be able to grasp. What else can we use it for? Matching. Oh, matching. If I had your meta programs, if I understood your preferences, if I knew what your goal was, and I had data to understand that if I match this coachee with this coach, we're a good fit. How does this work for the coach that's an individual? Well, here are all of my clients. Here are all of their attributes. And now as part of intake, I have my client fill in this survey. And I can say, if they're similar to all of my other clients that have seen massive success, I know I'm the right coach for them. Or if it's not, then I can highlight and make mental note to myself what I'm going to do about that so I can actually serve them. It's powerful stuff for intake, right? All right, there's a lot going on in the chat here. Good stuff. Good stuff here. XMP, Cypher Learning, future of AI. Oh, Jim is asking here, where's the future of AI going for the creation of individual data banks, creating individual operating models? My understanding of what you mean by individual operating models would be a personalized AI, so your own personal data set. I don't think that it would be creating your digital sorry, I don't think it would create your individual data bank. That's still you. Can it help? Yes, it can do transcription, it can do summary, it can do formatting to put it in Markdown or whatever other language for ingestion. Um, but really for this, if you have enough of that data, you can create a highly personalized AI. We can already do this now. We could have done this actually 2 to 3 years ago. It's become a lot more convenient now. So the future of AI when it comes to like personalized coaching or personalized care is how much context it has about a person. If you're able to do that and record it for yourself, it's very powerful. Personally, for myself, even though I'm very handwritten based, I have begun digitizing my life, right? There's a whole concept around something called the world of text. The world of text. And guess what? Large language models and AIs currently use as their medium of choice, text. If I'm able to do that and keep that data in line, it'll have a very strong bank of how I think, what my progresses are, and help me find and search for items. Like journal prompts, how I did that day, I can say, help me find 5 days where I did really great at X. And if the data has been properly sorted, right, it's been dated, the points are in there, you can say, hey, on this date you did this, on this date you did this, on this date you did this. Here's how you improved over time. Now, imagine that's not just for you. Imagine that's also for your client, right? As a coach, eh, for some of my coaches, they've had this problem. I'm of the mindset that the best types of changes happen quickly and without awareness, without knowing. The best kind of changes happen that way. You just change and you don't really know it because you're just living it day to day. Um, it's always fun. It's always fun because when you get them to look at where they were before they started, they'll look at it and they'll say, that can't possibly happen to me. That's how you know it's worked. And if you can do that for yourself by having that type of data, it's very, very powerful. So Jim, things like this are rapidly applicable for it. But in order to get data in a nice formatted way, we don't really have fixed ways of doing that yet. Your best bet right now is to either speak it to yourself if it's easy, get it transcribed and put into text, or do dated entries into text, right? We already have OCR technology. That's when we are scanning a document and we translate it over to text. It's very good at reading those things and reformatting it accordingly. And that is a step. I hope that answers your question, Joe. Okay, good. I see a thumbs up. Okay. Lots of stuff here in the chat. I'm just guiding through it. Um, I can talk to you guys a lot more about AI in the current world of coaching, but is there any specific questions? I want to make sure that those get out. Ask and you shall receive. Oh, thank you, Rick. But are there any actual specific questions? No? Mm. Oh, I see a question from Carla.
Rommel, my
Yes.
question is, I've noticed I'm very new in AI world, and you are super knowledgeable. I have to say that.
Thank you.
I was wondering, people can create their own AI or make a version of their own AI that suits them. Is that what is happening? Because I noticed that some people say, go to my AI platform and so on. Is
Ah,
that
so let me answer that a couple ways. Can you create your own model? Yes, it's
yes?
going to take millions of dollars and a lot of compute power and time. That's not what they mean, though. What they mean is, can I create a wrapper-based solution, which is using one of these existing models in the back end, right? And customize it with my own data, my own biases, and everything else. That's what they're doing. So, for example, Perplexity, that's what it's done. It has a prompt to go over and say, this is the question, break this down into multiple search queries. What would somebody search in Google if they had this question? Do those searches, get the top 5, 10, whatever search results, compile them, and then scrape and then do this. But that's what they mean. They've made a pipeline of actions, right? Or what a lot of people have been buzzwording about, which is called agentic AI, which is effectively that. It is a workflow that they have created that will follow a series of actions that can be reusable, right? Agentic AI just goes a step further above that, where they wanted to be able to reason when to use said workflow. But most of these solutions are a fixed workflow. Perplexity is a great example of that. Does that answer your question, Carla? I cannot hear you.
How do you achieve that style of AI, like creating a personalization within, let's say, ChatGPT?
Oh, so something like ChatGPT, you can, if you subscribe, I believe, to the Plus model, specifically for ChatGPT. So I'll talk about this for OpenAI specifically. You can create your own GPT if you're a subscriber. So Plus, I believe, is the minimum that you would need for that. And then what happens is that there's a system prompt. This is where you get to bias it to respond to you a very specific way. That's mostly what that is. Most people have gone over and marketed their own custom platform like crazy by just putting in their own system prompt and calling it a new product. This is not something new. This happens a lot. This is why when a tool like this becomes hyper, not necessarily hyper, but more conveniently accessible, a lot of noise floods the market. Right? They go, I added a prompt to this, but I'm not going to tell anybody that's what it is because they don't really know what's happening. And I'm going to market it as with a $5,000 markup for you to be able to access it and talk to it. We don't need. I'm not a fan of that type of noise in the
Right.
market. But
So
that's
when
how you
you
would do
say
it. Custom system prompt. And
custom
now that they've,
system,
yep, a custom system prompt. And now that they've also allowed it, documents that you can add. So RAG that I was talking about. Jim had brought it up about personalized data, right? Here's this, and here's all of the information about what is it? What is that card game that people always have things about? I'm sure it's different in every culture, but Uno. Here's all the rules of Uno as a card game, and
yes,
you are to, speak to me in as a medieval jester,
right.
right? Using ye old English. And it'll respond to you that way because it's following the system prompt and it's making reference to the rule book. Right? So you can do that and therefore make a Uno jester AI.
Right.
I'm making this example up as I go.
Yes.
Does that answer
So
your
now,
question?
yes, you have. Thank you so much. So my question is, how do you do this customization of system prompt? Do you need to be
Oh,
trained? You need to go to university? You need to study?
I'm sure they might do that at some point, but really, if you just look up prompt engineering or how to do this type of thing, you'll get a lot of resources. The fastest
Prompt
way to learn it is
engineering.
to try. Honestly, the fastest way to learn is to try. Put it in there, see how it reacts. If it's not following your instructions, be more clear. There are a lot of prompting frameworks. If you want to put, prompt framework into your search query, you will find a lot of those. Um, whether or not don't trust the ones that come from older search results. Trust the newer ones because those will be a bit more relevant. We go way too fast on this. A prompt framework from last year may not be relevant anymore.
Mhm.
But that's where I would start.
Right.
Hmm.
I was thinking more on the lines of like interviewing a client to have that fun feeling of chatting into the chat GPT. What's your name? What's your problem? And what are you trying to achieve from chatting? What, like almost like a mini interview to screen through them before you actually make an appointment. So it's almost like an automation, a semi-automation, but with live interaction, live chat GPT
Ah.
live.
So I
That's
like the
what.
way you're thinking, Carla. I like the way you're thinking. So this is how AI can help a coach automate items and also help a coachee distill the
Yes.
problem so
Yes.
that they can actually find what it is they're looking for. All of this is very useful information for the coach that they end up with so that
Yes.
you know that you're going to get value out of it. It removes that administrative guesswork,
Yes.
right?
Thank you.
Powerful stuff. Any other questions?
Rommel, is it okay that I come on just one more time here?
Hey, Jim. Yes, what's going on?
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of this in the chat, but I'm really, 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 really interested in where this thing is going in the future because it seems like to me that the more data you have, the more you're capable of creating your own database. And you can augment that with additional data that's already out there. So we'll be walking around with AI in our back pocket with our own data that we'll be able to peddle off to other people. Are you seeing that? I mean, because that's what's coming up for me as I'm listening to you talk about it. And I've been in several communities talking about this already, but this is the first time that it's beginning to resonate with me that there's some individual ownership that could be had or created by the individual. So I just wanted to reiterate that and hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So if we're looking at the AI business model, right? So let's talk about it in this way because this might I'm hoping this will hit the nail on the head. There are, I'm going to say, three ways that you can provide value, or that you can have a value. One is you've created the model, right? You've made O1, you've made Llama, you've made DeepSeek, you've made a model, and people are using it, right? So that's the core engine of it. Either you own that and you license it, SaaS as a service, that's your value, right? The second one is the wrapper-based solution. So I've automated a series of tasks for you that are great, and I've made it very convenient. So you're selling convenience, right? Most SaaS models will fall into this place, right? Convenience is great. People pay. This is why I'm gonna date myself. Here in Canada, we had a company called Blockbuster. Netflix took over, right? Because now I don't have to return things to the store anymore. I can just watch it on demand. I'm selling convenience, right? So that's where all of these wrapper solutions come in, like Perplexity, right? Convenience. You don't have to go do 50 web searches anymore. Read the data and compile it for yourself. I will do it for you. That's convenience. And the third one is hyper specialized data. If you have specialized data in a specific area, that is valuable. This and the last two tend to go together very well, right? Because I can have a very strong automation and I can bias it very specifically for an industry. I can bias it very specifically for coaching, say in football versus hockey versus tabletop games like Uno, right? Or, oh heck, what is that very popular game for role playing? Dungeons and Dragons. There we go. Let's do an entire campaign and bias it in this whole make-believe world that has all this knowledge set, and I'm going to sell that to you, which is effectively what a tabletop game is, right? Here's the physical pieces, and here is the story and lore and all of those pieces, the personalized knowledge, right? That's what that is. And of course, all of it runs against the back engine. So you do all of this, and automation's running using the model at the end. So they all play together, but those are the main factors. So when it comes over to having personalized data, right? That's what we're talking about. Personalized or specialized data. That is very powerful. If I want personalized experiences for myself, I need to have a good chunk of good quality data for that. Say if I want to be able to talk very specifically about, I don't know, brain surgery, I would need to have a very hyper specialized data set, right? And that's where that comes into play. I'll tell you guys this from my experience. Creating a hyper specialized chatbot was actually a lot easier. Everybody thinks we need AGI, general intelligence. That's actually one of the hardest bloody things to do, actually. But creating very specific, hyper-contextualized pieces, very easy, very easy. One of the things I did in the world pre-pandemic, before AI got, I'll say sexy, and everybody had convenient access to it, was create AI chatbots for life sciences. For life sciences. Now you might think, wow, this is materials that we need doctors who spend several years in residency and training to know and do. But what you don't understand is that they speak a certain way, and they all speak a certain way. It's very contextual. It's very contextual. So, for example, a general person may not use the same language all the time, and I need to do some kind of inference to understand them. If someone were to say, "Can I take this? My period is late." General question from a query. But a doctor may say, "I have a lactating patient," right? I have a patient who's lactating. Are there any contraindications of taking X medication? They will speak a very specific way. It becomes very easy to understand that I am looking for special population data, meaning can pregnant women take this drug? Or are there any side effects to taking it? Right? And it becomes highly contextualized. It's a lot easier to answer that doctor's query with the hyper-specialized data than it is to answer the general query. Because then I would have to reason out why are they asking this question? What's any other context information has provided me mean? How is it relevant? Versus hyper-contextualized data. And if you have all of that, if you know how doctors talk in a very specific field, it's very easy to understand what they mean and also provide them the information they're looking for. Does that help make a few connections there, Jim?
It does.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
this is pretty
question.
explosive. Yeah, this is pretty explosive stuff, man. That's all.
Yeah. Like there are lots of fun questions we can have here. Like how do clients perceive AI coaches compared to human coaches? Oh,
Yeah,
they
I
set the bar
started doing
very
all
high.
of my assessments through it.
Sorry,
I
say again,
started
Jim?
I started doing all of my assessments through it. I just rewrote all the assessments and changed the names and did it.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
Okay. Like, guys, put it this way: when people think about AI coaches, they are reaching for the moon. It's been overpromised, dramatically overpromised, right? And it falls flat, especially with the current day and age. Um, they will work great for levels 1, 2, 3 type of tasking and knowledge, but not so great at the higher levels. It's really good. I see Gina has a hand up.
Thanks, Rommel. I've just been taking notes here about what I can actually do, because when I listen to you speak about AI and marketing, there's a lot of value there. And so I've been taking notes about what I can do immediately. So thank you so much for this webinar today. What I'm curious about is I know that you've told me that you've enrolled, I know you're a master trainer of NLP, and you've enrolled in the master trainer of hypnosis. So when you're a master trainer of hypnosis, what's one thing you'll be able to do with AI that's going to help you at that level of hypnosis? Can you encapsulate that? I mean, is it simple? Is there something simple you would do?
Simple for me, but I'm sure at the back end there'll be a lot of complexity. Actually, hypnotherapy, although our actions are relatively simple, right? We're speaking. The connections and everything that we're making in the back end are dramatic, especially the connections our clients are making, all those neurological connections, and as it goes all the way in and down. There are lots of things I can do. I can create my own hypnosis music very well. People know about Suno, right? You can do that. You can time it. You can time it also such that you can identify a client's notable keywords, things from the beginning, and integrate that into the script writing that you use as you create your hypnosis track, right? I would strongly urge that you don't just create one and assume it's golden. I assume that you need to look at it because things like Milton model or the way that Karasner would speak are not exactly grammatically correct. And these models have been trained on literature, which is grammatically set. Right? Other things I would do for hypnotherapy is any types of the results tracking that I would get from my clients from the hypnotherapy, right? I would ask it, if I were to give this, what are, with this intention for the client, what are ways that they can help, that I can help them track qualitatively or quantitatively, so with numbers or in long form, that would be useful to help see if we're getting closer to X goal, and I can ideate on that, right? I can use it for any supportive tasking, and I can use it for all kinds of different items that would be able to do that. So, copywriting is one of those things. It makes a very good junior or to associate level copywriter if you train it correctly, and that's a big if, right? You do need to train it correctly. When people think about using AI in marketing, they say, write me a social campaign for 50 posts about X topic, and you're gonna get the most generic, the most generic slop, to put it kindly, that everybody else is using because they're not going deeper with more information, right? However, if I say this is my writing style, here's what I know, here's research that I've done about it, and I'm trying to talk about this specific nuance, we will get a lot more. And it's in that application that you have in customizing the output for the client, using AI to help speed up that process is where I would be getting a lot of value from using that as a future master hypnotist. Future trainer of master trainer of hypnotherapy.
Ah, Thank you, Rommel. I'm getting excited about this because I know you're doing this course in August. So I'm going to be interested in finding out after that what you're doing with it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And of course,
Thank you.
on this
Thank
call, I've only talked about LLMs, right? Don't even started with breakthroughs we've had with diffusion models. What do I mean by diffusion models? I mean images, videos, right? Everybody's probably seen HeyGen.ai. You can make an AI clone. You can do all the fun things. You can make AI music. There are a lot of things. What would have taken, $50,000, I don't know what the equivalent of that is in from like 30 years ago, to do video production, to do all of these things, create a soundtrack, and do all of those items. The time it would take, right? And not just that, just the amount that you would have to invest into it, time-wise, dollar-wise, has been dramatically reduced. And not only that, time to market has been reduced. Right? AI will take all of the lower level items and dramatically reduce time to market for a lot of things. So where this will help you as a coach is where you actually produce the results at the higher levels, right? And get to use it as a way to augment yourself so you can actually serve more people. It is one of those powerful things where the administrative and logistical constraints are being minimized. So when you think about that, what is it that would be the most valuable for people when that's been reduced? And the answer there is, well, it's communication and it's influence, all things that we learn from neurolinguistic programming and from hypnotherapy. Oh, yes, Carla.
Rommel, my
Mhm.
my question is, how do you create hypnotherapy music? That I'm very interested.
Oh, this is not a de facto guide to making hypnotherapy music, okay? But there are actually there are a lot of online ways of doing it right now. I'm sure if you just search AI music hypnosis or meditation music creator generator, there'll be lots. But the things that you would typically want for hypnotherapy or any kind of hypnosis where you're going to trance is Suno AI is one. Is something that's slow, 60 BPM, right? Or lower, right? Anything that would get them over to the alpha state, not rock and roll. And something relatively simple, right? For myself, if I'm ever doing some type of meditation, I really just have a 60 beats per minute metronome back from my days when I would play piano, and I just physically, not digitally, I'm sure I can find an easy track on YouTube, just put that in there and have it go tick, tick, tick. But know that the meditative track is really just an auditory anchor to help your clients if they're using that all the time to get into trance. And also another way just for them to get that lower heart rate beats per minute in consistently, right? That is the intention of that. So all the fancy bells and whistles are really just fancy bells and whistles. Look truly to why you would want to use the track.
Yes, I totally understand because at the end of the day, it's the interaction that creates the hypnosis and the language patterns. But sometimes the music or the beat will help out a lot because the head is zooming so quickly, I think. So
Oh,
may I ask,
absolutely.
type into the chat box, what are the places that I can look into the music, please?
Uh,
Great.
I'm trying to recall. Pseudo AI is the one that's very popular in terms of making your own music per se and in general. I see Andrea's put one in. I don't recognize it though. Songs.sue.com. I don't have an opinion on that one because I've never gone there. Um, and there are actually a lot of music generators out there. I'll do a quick look because I don't use Suno or the rest. I actually use an open source model that someone's made to make my own music for things, and I've been using that to help create background music for Instagram Reels and the like. Another application of AI in marketing. You can make your own
Yes.
music. Um, but really, for the most part, it's like the cherry on top, right? I would not say that would be what's holding you back, although it can help you brand certain things and make things seem a lot more polished.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If you're looking for commercial, I would definitely start with Suno since it's the most popular. All right.
Rommel, we're an hour and a half in.
Yes, timing.
Thank you so much. You provided a lot of information. We can just get feedback from everybody. Do we want to hear more about this, or if we have more questions for Rommel? Let's wrap this up. And you guys can always send me an email if you need more information on Rommel's contact details. Rommel, you can also put your contact information there in the chat. But I just wanted to really quickly thank everyone for being here. Hey, happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Yes, happy Valentine's for everyone.
And next month, we're going to have a webinar with Donna Piramali. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, Donna's a specialist relationship counselor and coach, and will present on the 10 stages of relationships and how to navigate relationship coaching. So that's going to be next month. We'll provide information over the next few weeks. That will be our webinar, I believe toward the ending of March. You're welcome. So any last questions for Rommel? Anyone, please raise their hand. We can put it in the chat.
I'll ask one question to you all.
Oh,
Because this is where we get to have fun conversations. What do you guys think? Because it's the American boards hosting this call. I'll put this question out there. What do you guys think is the future of certification for AI enhanced coaching? How can we use AI to ensure that the people being certified meet a specific standard? Oh, fun applications, isn't it? You guys thought it was just about for your coachees. I wonder what would happen if we were to integrate AI into certifications. I'll just leave that out there for you guys. Any other questions?
That's a great question, Rommel, and maybe we can come back and hear more from Candice and the boards down the track, and we might need to reach out to you to ask you some questions about this particular topic, because when we think about it, we're using AI in many areas of coaching and training already, and we're doing it because it's just the next thing we can do to simplify things. But as we go forward, in what way can we maximize the benefits of AI to make our services the best they can possibly be for our students? Because the world is changing. I mean, let's face it, the world is very different. So maybe we might need to come back to you now that we know that you're a resident AI guru in Canada. We might have more questions for you, but yeah, really, really good question, that's for sure. Candice, can I just jump in also and say a big thank you to Rommel, because this has been a fascinating topic, and I know the boards are going to be delivering a webinar every month this year, along with the conference that's coming up in September in hypnosis. So big thank you, Rommel, and thank you, Candice and Sophie, for putting this on. Really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone here today. I'm sure your minds are doing all sorts of things, because I know mine is. Thank you so much, Rommel. And next month, it is Donna. Everyone, Donna is amazing to listen to. And she's got so much experience in relationships coaching. Wait till you see how she uses NLP along with counseling in relationships. It's fascinating. Thank you. I'm going to be quiet now because I know we've all got to go.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rommel, again. Thank you for your time. You're sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll see everyone next month with Donna. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.